and join the channel 23C3. Current count on the channel is 437 nicknames. And I would also like to encourage you all to give a lightning talk. I think there's still some slots left for tomorrow. Like for you, you would do that? Good. We would like to see more of lightning talks on other events, so maybe we can set that up if you have another event, like the recent things have come up like Barcamp. So look out for Barcamp meetings in your town. All right, we are ready for the next talk.
Okay, yes, my name is Peter Krell. I'm from GameFace magazine, which is the German platform for computer game development in Berlin. And I've arrived here to talk to you about new ideas of how to basically generate games, and maybe also try to include new visualization technologies in the Linux movement, maybe, and also by having new ideas of how we might bring the industry to another level altogether. So this is our website. We are featuring several points of discussion in this format. We're having also a video stream, sort of, which is like a format for basically talking about what's happening in the industry. I will just let this visual run while I talk. So the first thing I want to mention is that we are, when we're dealing in Germany, when we're dealing with computer game development and related topics, this is always like a political sort of activity, and this is due to many reasons, also because Germany has fallen back in developing content for many years, so we are basically highly adaptive towards cultural standards being implemented on us by American culture. And therefore there's like a huge amount also of shooting games these days. Maybe this is just one reason why there's like a war, and we need to be prepared to basically go to war somehow. So there's some sort of mobilization process, I would suspect, which is triggering all these commercially driven shooter game concepts. And I would therefore also ask the question why the Linux hacker community does stop to basically hack a hardware, games hardware, when the Linux OS does run on the console. Like for instance, we've seen yesterday the PlayStation 3, and the hackers being involved with that, trying to hack the hardware. They said, "Oh, great job, Sony. Now we have our Linux running on the machine, so let's stop. Let's not hack the 3D port. Let's not be able to run our own games on this kind of hardware," which I think would be also really appreciable if there would be more efforts within that direction, and not only just to basically promote the hacking of commercial proprietary hardware, but also to, on the sideline, try to think about developing some concepts within the hacker community to bring across the point that we guys here are dealing with, which is like RFID, for instance, biometrics, all these like, buzzing topics we are involved with here currently at the conference. And I think, these ideas, and there are many messages attached to these ideas, could be really like as implemented into like new video game concepts, which might then be put on hardware, like for instance PlayStation 3 and other platforms, online web games, online, all sorts of activity going on in the creative field. And I like to stimulate this particular ambition, and we would like to give hackers who would like to engage with this process a platform in our magazine, so they could basically promote ideas in that realm in order to get a ball going. So I think in those terms there are possibilities to maybe try to think of what has been achieved so far. In the Linux game community there are already many cool projects, and I think there could be a huge variety of more projects, because what we've seen basically also when we're saying, okay, this is a cool application, then we've seen just another shooter game which was used to be running on Microsoft proprietary software, and then we've taken it to Linux. But I think this is not where we should try to stop. Thank you.
Entschuldige, du hast noch eine halbe Minute gehabt. You already had half a minute, so please. Okay, where can we find you? How can we contact you?
Yes, like I told you, we have a magazine print in circulation, and then also we're trying to get contact with the TV stations and so on and so forth. So, because I do believe that with a Linux game, for instance, there is also a market, because we're dealing with new visualizations in the realms of, for instance, TV, and there's ways to include other NGOs, for instance, with their content. And how can you contact us? We have a contact formula here, and then listen. So thank you again, and I hope to hear from some guys soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much again. Danke. Right, next on our list is Hendrik Scholz. And let's see whether his PDF will work. Looks good. So here we go.
Okay, that looks kind of good. Okay, I'm going to talk about SMAP. You might know the tool Nmap, and SMAP pretty much is just a clone specialized for voice over IP applications. Oh, that sucks. So first of all, on a daily basis, I'm setting up voice over IP devices, running infrastructure, doing all sorts of debugging, and such a tool just comes in handy. What is it? It's Nmap for zip devices, as I said, and you can just shoot out zip messages and receive an answer or not, and that's about it. So what can you use it for? You can scan for hosts, for single hosts, and see, okay, is that IP address running a voice over IP device? Or you can scan whole networks, and you can then, like on Nmap, you can fingerprint the device. Like, okay, what kind of zip device is it? Is it running Asterisk? Is this a PSTN device? Is it like a Fritzbox or whatnot? It does crash from time to time, but it's supposed to be easy to extend, and whenever a new zip standard comes up, you can just start another test just to distinguish between an old version of the AVM Fritzbox DSL router thingy or a new version, and it really works pretty good since there's so many new standards coming out that on a weekly basis you can make extensions and narrow down the firmware version just down to a couple of releases or a couple of days actually. Okay. So what it does is it sends out different requests, options request, just a broken request with the unknown method, and you just expect some sort of error if it speaks zip. And depending on the type of error, okay, I don't understand that, or 404 not found, or whatever formatting error you get, you can figure out, okay, I know in a lab environment that device would respond with the 404, and if it does it, it might be that device in the wild in the network. By default, it uses UDP, but I've extended it to use TCP, and TLS kind of works right now. There's just so few devices out there that actually use TLS that it's probably not worth doing any work on that, since there's just 2 or 3 PSTN gateways and SNOM phones. So how does it look like? You just pass a single host name, IP address, or just a complete network, and we'll just start shooting out packets, and within a minute you can see you have 150 detected voice over IP devices. To speed this up, you just don't have to search the whole internet. You can just look, okay, which ISPs are actually offering voice over IP, And like Freenet that I'm working for, or One&One Internet and all the ISPs, they are selling the very same DSL routers, and they are running all the voice over IP devices on the DSL connections. So once you figure out who's running or which IP addresses are assigned to those ISPs, you just start scanning those networks. And as you can see, that's a standard network that I tried. You've got a hit ratio of 60%. And if you're going to ISPs that are specialized in voice over IP stuff for the DSL lines, you can get hit ratios up to like 90%. So you send out 10 messages, and none of the IP addresses you scanned actually have voice over IP running. So if you want to do further attacks, this seems to be the fastest way to actually find devices. Then you can do fingerprinting, like, okay, you figured out one of the IP addresses, and you want to know what's running on that box. And it does some sort of tests, and it uses banner grabbing and stuff, and in a nutshell it just comes up with, okay, that's an AVM type of box, or it's Asterisk running version 1.2. Whatever, or it's a Cisco gateway. So you also have a learning mode, so what it does is it just sends out all the requests, and depending on the type of answer, like I said, much like Nmap does, it just builds a fingerprint and compares the actual fingerprint of the device against the database, and then says, okay, that seems to be a Fritzbox. And as you can see, you really can narrow it down based on the headers to actually say, okay, it's a new 7170 box, and it's not an old one or whatnot. Okay, for the most interesting part, you can just fingerprint or locate devices that are not behind a net. But then, if you're behind a net, if you're, for instance, using Freenet or One&One or whatever DSL ISP, and you're using voice over IP behind that, you have some insights on how voice over IP works for that ISP. So you, for instance, know what the outgoing zip proxy for that ISP would be. So the DSL router might let packets in from that ISP's voice over IP gateway. So you just forge a packet saying, okay, this packet is coming from the ISP's zip proxy, and it's allowed in through the DSL router to the voice over IP device. But on the zip-based layer, you just add routing information that says, okay, please forward the packet back to the attacker instead of the ISP zip proxy. So that way you can get through net, since for the outgoing packet, the DSL router would just open up state table entry, and you can get through the net even though you're not allowed to get through it. And you can actually fingerprint devices behind a net. So in a nutshell, yeah, it's just available on my website. I'm going to put up an SVN repository. You can start hacking on that. And it's already packaged as part of some distributions, yeah, Grimmel and stuff. And I just need more fingerprints. I have like 40 fingerprints for devices in there. And if you have some exotic devices, just, yeah, get me the IP address or come up to me with the device. And I'd like to have a look at that. And if you're into TLS, yeah, you might just help me. TLS freaks me out. Okay, thanks a lot.
Dan? Where's Dan? Oh no, Thomas. Thomas, du bist dran. Ja, genau. Okay, while we're setting up for the next talk, this will be about the following question. What do you have in common with a guinea pig? So I have no idea what this is all about, but it poses a very interesting question. Again, if you want to join IRC, freenode.org on channel 23C3, please make use of the wiki to give some feedback, and yes, we should point out where to meet people after the talks. It would be nice to have an extra room for that, so I could just point them to you. But I guess the best place to meet these guys after the talks would be in the lounge. So please remember their faces and search for them. And if they have a DECT phone, we should actually mention that. So next time for the lightning talks, we will have an indication whether they will have a PDF and link from that. And if they have a DECT phone, we will also take a note of that. Yes, the next thing isn't slides with PDF, it's just plain text. And Thomas, what is it all about?
Okay. Hello, my name is Thomas Waldmann. and the main talk will be in German language because it's not a computer topic and my vocabulary is better in German there.